Do today effectively in the next 33 minutes. There's a couple bits of information that are pretty pertinent. Some that are concern. I know there are people on the call outside of BC. Welcome, and I see Jean-Louis. It's an availability survey. 32 of you filled it out already. Fantastic. But effectively, all it asks, and it will be sent out every month, is: are you available on a particular day? Do you have restrictions? Meaning, do you have to referee locally, or can you travel, or are you not available at all? Which is great, and that will be every competition day. So whether that's senior rugby on Saturdays in the fall, age grade rugby on Sundays in the fall, and then et cetera. And then of course some special events, which will be kind of, even though they may not sit within that month, they'll be sent out, weeks, hopefully months in advance, so that you can at least indicate, oh, hey, I can clear my calendar for that day. Appointments and opportunities. So just a bit on the philosophies behind it. So, in big letters here, we have balance, planning, and communication. And what we mean by balance is you as an individual, whether you're a CMO, referee, AR, whatever, just making sure that you don't just say, I'm available every day of the year and then burn yourself out. Plan, talk to your family, talk to your friends, decide on the days you want to be involved, and make your rugby experience meaningful. Planning, if you want to be traveling out of region, if you want to go and see what, the north, the interior, Port Alberta, which is one of the coolest rugby facilities in BC, in Canada, in my opinion, hey, you can do that. It just requires some planning. So make sure that you are able to travel, and then communication, that you talk to the right people. And if you don't know who to talk to, send me an email. I'll tell you, kind of who to have that conversation with. Pre-game routine. I won't spend a lot of time on this. This will be sent out, but please know your competition. We'll go through rules of comp and what that means in a second. Added bonus, knowing your teams, who the captains, the coaches, and the form of the team, kind of just so you know how to approach it. If a team's lost 6 games on the bounce, maybe you don't want to rock up and say, hey, how was your last game? A lot of that goes a long way. And then know your venue. So organizing your travel, your parking, your change rooms, and again, your support. If you're lucky enough to work with ARs, CMOs, being able to know who those people are. And again, the rules of comp pieces are going to be sent by email and available at bcrugby.com very shortly. Things like writing down a plan. It could be the template, those who are pretty keen on, their key focus areas and all that, or just scribbling it down in your hand or on a post-it note. Just thinking about our game before we do it at all levels is pretty good. There's a document I will send out, apologies, which is some physical prep. I've got drills, a couple of videos of some things you can do that are fitness for referees, but that try to simulate what a game looks like, and then a bit of a running menu. So just avoiding that, hey, I'm going to run 5K, because there's quite a bit of research on there about what types of running and types of training will actually help you. And if you only have 1 session a week, 2 sessions a week, it's actually a pretty cool resource, so you can get as much purchase out of your time as we are all busy people. And then these pieces, again, I have to say this just because we have had issues in the past. The score, I understand sometimes there are technological issues, but again, you have the SMS text message service, which you receive on your phone. If you're not receiving that, please let me know and we'll fix it for you. There's also the Sport Lomo game management app, or on your Sport Lomo on your computer, your referee access, which we'll send you the link for later as well. And if all of that fails, no problems at all. Just don't slag it off, because again, clubs, teams, stakeholders, everyone, your score goes on the website, updates the standings, all of these domino, and it affects things like teams travel, how coaches plan, who to bring where. Sometimes teams play in Kamloops and the other team's got to be in Victoria, and like these results do matter. So getting them in the same day, if you can't, if technology is not your thing, I understand. The bare minimum is emailing it to results@bcrugby.com. Yellow and red card information, that's on the website. I'll show you where it is right now. So if you go to bcrugby.com, resources, coaches and officials, awesome. So you get into here and you should see a picture of Brian Moylett. But below that, you have your coaching resources, coaches of teams, and then you have your on the field and off the field. Things like yellow and red cards, those are off the field admin issues. So you just click on there, it will scroll all the way down. If you don't know where it is, you can actually scroll down. It's all on the same page. We have our preparation review templates, a little bit of movement and analysis tool, expected outcomes training, etc. Card reports, we got red, we got yellow. You click on them and then you fill out the form. If for some reason the buttons aren't working, please let me know and I will send you the template. Enjoying the post-game experience, the rugby experience. And what that means is, and this can be difficult because we have some strong personalities in our rugby community, which we all understand. And no technical conversation with players and coaches. What that means is, hey, chat about the game, how you thought things went, but if you start to get into anecdotal conversations about individual decisions, they do lead down very dark places and it's just no good for anyone. And then we end up with negativity. So if you're now, if you want to talk scrums with the ex professional tight end prop who's playing for, Port Alberni, great. Have that conversation as long as you're comfortable. But if you're not feeling comfortable and you're like, I just want to relax and enjoy and have a post-game meal, then that's okay. And just say, hey, let's chat later. Give me a call during the week. And this applies to our CMOs as well. We have excellent CMOs on this call, but if you're not feeling up to having a post-game debrief, it's totally okay. Just say, hey, can we have a call on a Wednesday? And just let me enjoy the experience. And that could be if you had a great game or if you had a really tough game. But again, that's why do we have conversations post-game? It's for a reason. So if we're not socializing and we're not learning anything, why are we doing it? So things like reduced numbers. Premier Leagues doesn't apply. If a team doesn't have 15, well, then that's going to be dealt with differently. Div 1 and Div 2, there's a star there. The teams, probably the coaches, contact each other on a Friday, ideally 24 hours before kickoff, and they say, hey, we've got 15 guys and no subs. They can choose, the two teams, to go 14 aside. Simply because if you jump over to replacements, all divisions below Premier Leagues starting this year will have rolling subs, and rolling subs are clearly defined over here. Injured players don't come back on the field. Head injuries never did, but if you've stopped the game because someone is clearly injured, they don't go for treatment and come back later. They're done for the day. It's someone's tired. They're doubled over, they can be subbed, and coaches will take a while to learn this process, and as will referees. But this is going to make the idea is to make games not get forfeited and have fewer player injuries in these community levels of the game. But again, that doesn't mean jump the boards and get on. It's teams may only substitute with the permission of the referee at a stoppage. And then there are bits and pieces that I'm going to be chatting with a couple of colleagues of mine about, because one of the concerns that came from our director of rugby was they do not want to see a specialist type 5 come in on 5-meter scrums. So stay tuned on that. But again, within reason, at a stoppage, teams can make those replacements with the permission of the referee at all divisions below the Premier Leagues for this year. So the numbers piece, going back to that, 14 aside, what that means is if game on is applied the day before, that means 80 minutes is no longer an option. If you're playing a shortened game or shorter numbers, you play 70-minute max, and that is 2 times 35 minutes. So that applies in men's D1 and D2, women's D1. Women's D2, game on means they often play 12s anyway, but game on means, okay, we're going to play 10 aside. And what that means is 4 times 10 minutes, 40 minutes max, so that people aren't dying, because it is 10s is a very different game. Obviously, that's still with rolling subs. And then again, it says what the scrum numbers look like. It's a 3-2, 3 front rows, 2 second rows, etc. And then men's D3, that's 12 aside, apologies. And then that's either 2 times 30-minute halves or 4 periods of 15 minutes, or they can go 3 20s if that's been agreed upon before the game. But again, it's 60 minutes maximum. And then the scrums, it is 3-2-1 because the idea is there is space in the backfield. We do not want to see like a 5-person scrum and 1 million people in the backs, etc. And the reason for the 8 is it does apply a little bit of structure as there is less space than 10s available, especially when the ball's back behind the scrum and it gets a bit loose. So a couple of asterisk points here. Again, the need to reduce numbers and effectively game time needs to be communicated 24 hours prior with the opposition. This is for our clubs, but and BC Rugby, if we get the information, we'll let you know. If you're refereeing that game, you'll get an email Saturday morning at the latest saying, hey, they're going to be playing. They've got 15 players. They've agreed. One team's got 20. They've agreed to play 14 aside, so that at least they have that one sub they can roll through, and then that's their option. And again, you cannot say, or it is not the officials' right to say, no, we're not doing this. This is a part of the rules of competition. And again, it's done 24 hours prior to the fact. If it's not, the teams have to agree. And if you're not comfortable as a referee, you can pull out this one pager and say, this is what we're doing. And again, this is going to be communicated with clubs in a session that we're announcing very soon, but it's going to be September the 7th for you club people out there. And we're just going to make sure that everyone's on the same page. It's going to look like what it's going to look like for this year. We'll assess the data. We'll do it for a whole year, and then we'll see what it looks like next year. And it might even be revised at the midway point. But again, we're trying what World Rugby's given us as far as a breadth. And we're going to go from there. So again, I'm happy to stay on and talk about game on afterwards. Apologies. Oop. Okay. A lot of changes. Again, I won't go through all of them, but the scrum breakfoot piece, we'll talk about that last. But the water carrier stuff you might be seeing on TV, there is no official 2 water breaks. That's for elite rugby, which World Rugby defines as professional and test match rugby. But the 2 water carriers per team, that's pretty important. They remain in the technical area. They're not walking all over the place, and they're not head coaches. And again, referees are given a bit of a piece in law. If a water carrier, a medic, or a coach interferes with play, either physically or verbally, and they're on the field, you can give a penalty. And teams are going to be told this. Charging conversions, small one. Instead of moving towards the kick, they've just said any direction. Sliding back in the maul. Again, this is just a clarification that was brought into law. It's no change in how we're actually going to referee it. Flying wedge, latch, 50-22, goal and dropout. Those were global law trials that have become law. And then things that we had refereed in the past have now just been written in the law, like dive on a ball leaving in a ruck. If there's a ruck, ball squirts out within 1 meter, player lands on it, they get penalized. As opposed to the player landing on the player getting penalized. And then rolling subs for select competitions, 7 aside across the board, even elite men's 7s in British Columbia are rolling subs. And then for 15 aside, everything but the Premier leagues. And in the fall, the Can West women, which that's a national competition anyway. And then breakfoot. All it means, and I've talked with many of you about this in the past. All it means is the hooker is just not meant to have 2 feet that are planted even with each other. One of their feet, their left foot or their right foot, could be either one, has to be forward until the set call. So on crouch, the foot has to be there. They can take it back a little bit on bind, it just can't be parallel. And on set, into further detail about them, but they're not designed to be reviewed in one session, 1 hour. Small chunks all season. If you're struggling with scrum, if you're struggling with maul, if you're struggling with tackler in particular, according to the feedback you get or self-analysis, you can find that map in a pretty central location. Again, I'll show you where that is and how to use it in 30 seconds. So we go back to the website, bcrugby.com, open up a fresh page just to show you how it can get there. Okay, so we're here, we click on the 3 lines, again, we go down to resources and we click on coaches and officials. Key focus areas are on field. So you click on field, or you scroll down to the bottom and you will see key focus areas here. So again, you get those, you can have a look at the graphic for breakdown if you're a flowchart kind of person, if that's your learning style, or if you want to see things in video format, you go to the key focus areas video map. It looks like this, and you click on, let's say you have issues with side entry, or players off their feet, etc. You click on arriving player entry. It will possibly show an ad, but that's okay. And then you will get using our footage across the leagues. Again, we try to not use professional rugby or Six Nations and all that just because it looks differently, but we talk about what it is first and foremost, and what the definitions for players or coaches are, what that looks like in a good way, what it looks like in a not so good way, and then we end with the observe decide piece from a referee point of view. So, and apologies, we've gone 15 minutes over time. It is preseason for me as well. Okay. So I just want to leave on the note, and again, I'll stay on for anyone else who wants to chat about all things, especially rules of comp, game on, law changes. But I can't stress enough that us as a group, if we overcomplicate things, we're going to end up having not enjoying ourselves, and that's really why we're all here at all levels of the game. But keeping things simple, having a positive attitude, and again, putting rugby at the forefront makes simple, positive rugby. So I look forward to seeing all of you on the field and in the clubhouse. And again, the more we can do that, the more we can let the players take center stage to do whatever it is they want to do.